What an eventful morning. So the tour company that, well, I booked it, sent me this address. They said this is the meeting point, which is right by the main train station in Kiev. And then they sent me another text last night saying, well, this is the meeting point. In my head, I guess I was being lazy, just thought it's the same place. So I walked all the way there and thought, I'll quickly double check. I was like, oh, it's a different place. So then I had to like almost run a half hour to the new place. Just made it in time when they were leaving. And then yeah, bus ride was crazy. So the roads, you could see, are just ice. A bus driver bumping all over the place. It was nuts. But we're just at the checkpoint, and so I guess after this, in a couple of minutes, we'll be heading through. We'll see what happens. But what a morning so far. It's 10 o'clock. It's about 2 hours drive just to get to the checkpoint, and then I don't know how much further, but I guess we'll find out. So this is the radar system that they built back in the Cold War to identify any missiles and rockets or planes that potentially the US may have fired across to over here. They were super paranoid of those sort of things back then. But the size of this radar system is insane. So to the highest point it's like 150 meters high and like something like 880 meters long. It's like almost a kilometer long. And this whole radar system cost more to build than the Chernobyl reactors. And the thing is, when they made it, it didn't even work. So all that money, time and effort spent making this was just a waste of time. I think for me what is crazy the most is that the Soviet Union was just one massive secret within itself, that nobody knew what they were doing in like the town next door. No one knew that this was a fully militarized military camp. They just thought it was a children's camp. That's what they were told, and that's what they believed. I just can't imagine. I suppose it probably is happening around the world today, but it's just hard to imagine. So we just visited the hospital. It's where the firefighters would have first been taken after they'd first encountered their nuclear reactor, and or when they got sick they would have entered into that building, and we took a little trip inside and saw, like, I guess the mother care unit, and where the mothers would give birth. And just to see it abandoned is quite strange, because there's so many young couples in this town. I can imagine plenty of them were starting families, and that's where they would have been. That's where they would have, where their children would have been given birth to. But the horrible thing is, after the disaster, they encouraged and almost forced a lot of these women to have abortions because they didn't quite know how the child would turn out. A lot of them refused, but they just encouraged and pushed all these women to have abortions, which is just I can't even imagine. Here behind me would have been the supermarket, and in smaller towns and places within the Soviet Union, there would be queues of people looking for, well, it was like one milk and one bread for 10 people. Like, there's just queues and queues. But this is a supermarket here in Pripyat, because of the people that worked, well, the people who lived here worked at the power plant. They were rewarded with privileges, so they just had an abundance of food and resources that they needed. So you could really tell that, like, it's a little mouse. You could tell that the people who lived here were looked after because of the purposes of the Chernobyl power plant. But here we got a restaurant, but there would have been the concert hall, and right by there would have been a hotel. You can imagine that this square would have been filled with people happy, celebrating, dancing, joking, talking. This would have been like a real social hub of the town. And it's just, it almost feels like a fake town. Like, I can't imagine just the amount of people that would have been here. You could see flats further away with the hammer and sickle symbol above them. Like, it would have been a constant reminder all the time that this is a Soviet place, and the reason for it was for Soviet purposes.
Keep a distance, because we're afraid that you...
So right behind me is the school where all the children would have gone to, where they would have learned, where they would have, I guess, been raised to be the next generation of the Soviet Union. And you can kind of see all the literature and the posters and the way the school was set up. Like, they were really reared towards making this Soviet Union bigger and better and stronger. Next to the school you had the old sports facilities with the swimming pool and the old basketball court, and you could see just how privileged these people were to have these facilities. Like, this town was like so important. That radar we saw earlier, they said that one reactor powered that one radar. So you can see, like, defense wise, power wise, just for the whole country and union, how important this town would have been. And they were like really looked after the workers, you could tell.
And now when I speak with my friends the same age like me, I say, what do you know about Chernobyl? Haha, mutants. I think we as Ukrainians especially, we need to remember about all the heroes who sacrificed, not on Memorial Day, but for the rest of our life. Because nowadays it's like kind of disrespectful, and I think it's not only in our country such a problem when people forgot the history.